Welcome back again. This is the third and the last part of the lesson on scatterplots. We'll talk about cause and effect relationships. Now, when we observe relationships between two variables, it doesn't mean that one variable will cause a change in the other, or what change in a variable will change the other. So to explain this a little bit better, think of David's example that we just talked about in the previous example. We discussed the relationship between the leg length and the time it takes for the person to walk 100 meters. Now imagine that we select two people, both have the same leg length. One is 20 and the other is 75 years old. Do you think that the time will be predictable or will follow the pattern? So the answer is most likely not. And even if it does, that would be a coincidence. It will be a very fit 75-year-old matched with a not so fit 20-year-old. Now, when other factors are involved, such as age in this case, so it's not a pure relationship, leg length and time. There are other factors like age that interfere in between. The correlation could be a coincidence if the correlation happens. Demonstrating cause and effect conclusively is a challenging task, and it requires very careful analysis and specialized statistical tools. So we're going to take a look at some examples and discuss whether or not the situation is reasonable in each and every one of them. So first one says that a scientific study showed a negative correlation between aerobic exercise and blood pressure. It claimed that the increase in aerobic activity was the cause of the decrease in blood pressure. Now, how would you explain this? Would you agree with this or not? Well, it is reasonable to think that there may be a cause and effect relationship because there are many factors that affect blood pressure. But however, since this is a scientific study, we might reasonably expect that the researchers made efforts to neutralize other factors. So, for example, studying subjects in very close age and fitness range. So, we're going to say yes. We might see or might be able to see some correlation or realistic correlation or reasonable correlation. But we have to keep other factors silent, I would say. Other factors that can affect actually the effect. Correlation. Some reason providing that factors other than the ones that we are studying are kept silent. Okay? So in the next example, it says that Mila discovered a positive correlation between gasoline price and average monthly temperature. So the relationship is gasoline price and monthly temperature. She concluded that the temperature determines the price of gasoline. Well, what do you think the relationship is? The colder the weather, the higher the price, probably. So is it reasonable for us to claim that this situation can be clearly described just by this example? Or can we conclude to a reasonable conclusion? So we're going to say that in this case, it is not reasonable to say that there is a cause and effect relationship between temperature and gasoline prices. A more likely explanation for the correlation is that higher temperatures occur in the summer when more people are traveling out of town for weekends and vacations. So the increased demand can cause the price increase. So we're going to say here no, not necessarily. Okay? Because yes, it is true that gasoline prices can increase because of the drop in the temperature, but also, or increase in the temperature, but the drop or increase in the temperature doesn't just affect gasoline prices directly, because it also depends on the demand. So the higher temperatures will bring higher demand in gasoline as people want to travel more. And the demand itself depends on the temperatures. Now, the last example says that since the 1950s, the concentration of carbon monoxide in the atmosphere has been increasing. Crime rates in many countries have also increased over this time period. Does more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere cause people to commit crimes? Well, it's not reasonable to say that there is a cause and effect relationship. It's much more likely that carbon dioxide levels and crime rates are each determined by many other factors, such as increasing populations. So we're going to say no. It's not reasonable to say there is a cause and effect relation. Effect. Because crime rates also depend on the increase of population. Okay, so that was today's lesson, and please don't forget to do your homework. So 2 parts before your homework. Number 1, you have to listen to the lesson and complete the lesson. So please print out a blank copy of the lesson. Sorry. And complete it. And you also have to solve the problem below. So this problem in here. So it's already in there. You can just print it out and draw the graph. And I hope that everything makes sense today. Um, Let me know if you have any questions. Either email me or prepare your questions for our meetup tutorials.